Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Always Undeniable. I'm your host, Sanaa Collins, and I'm back here today with another episode for y'all. Before we get into it, make sure y'all tap back in last week for my episode all about healing. It's a very important one and one that I think a lot of people need to hear. Also, if you don't already, be sure to stay in tune with all things Always Undeniable. I have a Patreon, I have social medias that I post on every single day. I have different tiers and access to coaching by me also available. All of that is available to you in the description of this video and in the bio of all of those places, as well as here on YouTube. So be sure to check all of that out. I'm always working on a lot of dope stuff for y'all in the hopes to change as many lives as I possibly can. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the video. Being undeniable is all about becoming a version of you that can't be compromised. No matter what's going on, you hold the line on your morals, your vision, and your discipline. Nobody does the work for you, but you also cannot be stopped. In that, you stack the proof, you put in the work, you put in the time, and you stay focused on what needs to happen, and you become the person you said you wanted to be. Now, you're probably wondering why being undeniable is so important to me, and it's the simple fact that it's the exact thing that changed my life. Having that shift in mindset and understanding that I didn't want to be average, I didn't want to be like everybody else, is the exact thing that made me lock in, focus, and understand where I was going versus where I needed to be. In almost more of a simpler term, being undeniable was everything I wasn't, but everything I wanted to be. And I had to figure out how to get there, and that's exactly what I did. Because truth be told, if I hadn't told myself to be undeniable, if I hadn't taught myself that all these things I want can't happen if I went down the same path that I was already on, there's no telling what I'd be doing right now. There's no telling if I'd even be here right now in front of the camera talking about my experiences and whatever. But at the end of the day, the thing that matters is I was able to figure it out, and now I'm here helping y'all do the same thing. To me, one of the most important things in the whole process of becoming undeniable is understanding that you need to control your situation, and you have had control over your situation for longer than you think you did. And that's a hard thing to sit with, especially because you spent so much time blaming other people or other things for your shortcomings. But at the end of the day, you had control. You had some sort of role in what was going on, and being able to accept that is honestly what I think is step number one, because it allows you to stop looking back and allows you to start moving forward, and moving forward with full conviction and belief that you can do such a thing. And don't get me wrong, that process isn't instantaneous. It doesn't happen immediately, but if you repeat it, just like anything else, if you practice, if you focus, if you really believe it can happen, it will happen. And this is coming from someone who, even after going through my process of becoming undeniable, still wasn't unsure about things sometimes. Even as recent as to Always Undeniable. When I first started Always Undeniable, it was just a variety podcast. I wanted to talk about whatever. It didn't matter what it was. Social media, pop culture, nature, science, whatever. I wanted to talk about it all. But I realized that that is such a broad thing to do, and that is such a massive range of things to cover. So I had to reevaluate, because I saw something wasn't working. Yeah, I had views and engagement, but I had to understand that the views and engagement that I was getting was mostly off of the promotions I was doing and less off of the actual enjoyment and engagement of my actual page. Once I flipped it on its head and started moving in a new direction, in an actual niche of self-development, personal development, whichever one you want to call it, that's when things really started to become more authentic. I started getting more views, more actual engagement, more followers, more attention on Always Undeniable as a whole. And that was the exact thing I wanted to do, because at the end of the day, I could have given up on myself when things started getting shaky at the beginning in the first year. And obviously, any great business, any business at all, really takes 5 years to get up off the ground. Any business, any platform, whatever. And Always Undeniable right now, yes, is a piece of a bigger plan that I have in store. But for what it is right now, for what I'm focused on right now, I needed to understand that just because things got rocky and that things sort of weren't going my way, didn't signal the end. And when I was younger, before I was living an undeniable lifestyle, I would have thought that was the end. I would have given up on myself and I would have gone on to the next endeavor, which is not the right way to go. Especially when I'm trying to make something like Always Undeniable be as big as I see it being 5 years down the line. Being undeniable is more than just a couple of words. It's an actual lifestyle. It's how you maneuver. It's how you think about things. It's how you work towards what you want. It's how you decide what you want. What are the things that are going to help me achieve this goal of becoming undeniable, becoming this person I've always knew I could be? Which is why, regardless of what's going on, you always see me in the gym. You always see me working on my mental health. You always see me giving myself time to reset. You always see me doing something that's going to help me or the other people around me, because I'm doing this not for me. It's bigger than me. Always Undeniable is bigger than me. It's for me, and it's something that I really want to do and that I know I can take it far. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to impact lives upon lives upon lives. I'm trying to help people not make the same mistakes that I did. I'm trying to help people understand that you can't rush this journey that you're on. You have to understand that it's slow, it's steady, and balanced. And I'm still on the journey myself, right? I'm still trying to make this into something that is big, something that I can focus on for the rest of my life without it feeling like work or feeling like a burden at any point. And so all of that is a part of the process. It's all a part of the journey, but understanding that took me a while. It took me a long time to get to this point where I'm almost machine like, where I'm always on point. I'm always doing what I need to do. And that's not to say I don't enjoy what I do, because I love doing this. I love getting on socials every day and teaching lessons, because to me, what makes Always Undeniable different from any other personal brand or any other page out there is that these messages, no matter what they are directly addressed to a younger version of me. In doing that, I know that it'll impact anybody else that sees it, because I know a lot of times, especially people in my age range between that 22 to like 27, 26, 27 range, I know a lot of people oftentimes think about their past, think about past decisions, how it got them to where they are, etc. And sometimes that can be a painful thing to do. But I've turned that process and that journey into something that everyone should be able to consume and not feel bad about, and use as a means for becoming a better version of themselves, to become better. Truth be told, a lot of these things that I talk about on Always Undeniable are things that me at 15, 16, 17 needed to hear. I'm sure I've said that already this season. You've probably heard me say that, but it's so real and it's so true, because it's what keeps me going. I feel like if I didn't have that aspect of Always Undeniable, it wouldn't hit as hard as it does. And that's what makes it so fun for me, because I never run out of ideas. I always have ideas on my mind. I always have topics or things or memories, experiences that I want to bring to the table and that I want to bring front and center when it comes to my content. And it goes back to the aspect of being undeniable, because another part of that is being vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable, whether it's with yourself, a family member, a friend, whatever. It doesn't have to be in front of thousands of people like I do, but you still have to be vulnerable. You should be vulnerable. You're allowed to be vulnerable. But truth be told, living with the mindset and telling myself 5 years ago that I want to be undeniable is the catalyst for all of this. Because I took myself from rock bottom. I took myself out of this very, very dark place and flipped it on its head and changed my life for the better. And I know you can too. 9 times out of 10, if you're watching Always Undeniable, especially if you're coming back, you feel like the things I'm saying resonate and that it helps you. And so to be Always Undeniable also means getting out of your own way. Sometimes you need help and you can't figure it out by yourself, and that's okay. One of my biggest downfalls throughout my entire life, even today, is I have a hard time asking for help, whether it's something small, something big. I have a very hard time asking for help because I'd rather figure it out myself. I don't know why I do that, but I do it. And it's one of those things where it doesn't necessarily feel like, I think I just believe in myself enough to think, okay, I can figure this out, or I can do this, I don't need help, until like I see proof that I actually need help. But sometimes help is not a bad, help is not a bad thing. Help is not a bad thing. And getting out of your own way is also a part of being undeniable. Once Always Undeniable is where I needed to be, I'm 100% hiring people to handle different things that I'm doing right now that I think others could do 10 times better than I do. That's going to up the value of Always Undeniable. But until then, I'm doing it myself. But the point is, there's always going to be somebody that knows more than you do. So don't be stubborn. Don't hold yourself back. Allow them to do what they can do, especially if it's going to help you in the long run. There are so many different aspects that go into being undeniable. And from my personal perspective, there are 4 key things that you really need to hone in on. It's the rebuild, the reframing, the redefining, and the rise. Now, for those who that might sound familiar to, those are the 4 different stages of my coaching program. But those are the 4 stages that I went through throughout my journey to becoming this version of me that helped me become who I am, that helped me become undeniable. Rebuilding my life meant understanding why I got to where I was in the first place, how I got there, and what I could do to never be in that space again. It was also understanding what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be, and sort of starting to think like that version of myself that I wanted to become. The next step was reframing, which meant looking back at all my experiences and what brought me to that moment, no matter how hard it was, looking back at my role, what I could have done differently, and looking at the situation as a whole. Once I was able to do that, it made it easier to fall into the redefine, where now I have this vision. I understand what I could have done differently before. Now it's all about changing the future. What is the trajectory of my future? What is my path to my future? What is my path to the ideal future look like? It's figuring that out, which is where systems come in, as I've talked about so many times. It was understanding what system was going to work for me in terms of being in the gym 4 to 5 days a week, then doing some cardio on the other days, eating better than I was. Obviously, my system now is so much better than it was right when I started, and I love my current system. Real quick, if you're new, my system is very simple. Monday through Thursday, I do full body workouts. On Friday, I do basketball for cardio. Saturday, Sunday, I get on the bike and do 20,000 steps. I usually get around 15,000 to 18,000 steps a day in general, but I make sure to get more steps on the weekend as I don't track on the weekends and I tend to just eat sort of whatever I'd like on the weekends, but that works for me. It's not going to work for everybody, but that's my system. Anyway, then the last part was rising. The rise is taking all of those things that I did in those previous 3 phases and making it my life. Understanding that now it's time to stop talking about it and actually putting in the work, following these plans, following these systems, and allowing myself to grow. And it was then and only then that I was able to go from the person I absolutely despised to the person I love being every single day. And that's not to say the journey's easy or that I never feel bad or I never have bad days or anything like that, because that's not human. Every person you know, no matter how put together they seem, has a bad day every once in a while. But what makes the difference is how they look at that bad day. It's all about perspective. That person can see that bad day and say, okay, it wasn't even a bad day. I had a bad 2 hours. Now I'm going to figure out what to do next. Or if they did happen to have a bad day, they look at it and say, okay, I had a bad day, not a bad life. Yesterday was good. Tomorrow will be better. All of these components I mentioned are absolutely crucial to becoming undeniable. If you want your life to change for the better, you have to be aware of these things day in and day out. If you are, your life can change. I can help you with it. You can do it on your own. Regardless, you are capable of change. And that's not to say everything I said is going to work for you. Your system might look a little different. The things that you do to heal might look a little different. But in the most basic sense, these are the things you have to do if you really want to see real change in your life. But nonetheless, I appreciate y'all for being here, tapping in for another installment of Always Undeniable. And remember, there's so much more that I have to say and to offer, whether that's over on Patreon, on my social media, or through my coaching. It's all available to you. Just hit the link in my description, hit the link in the bio if you don't see it in the description, which you should. Don't know why you wouldn't. But nonetheless, I appreciate y'all. Until the next one, stay blessed, stay positive, stay motivated. This has been Always Undeniable.